welcome to the Band Shop Podcast, Season 2, Episode 2. Today we have Matt and Grant from the All Around Music Podcast.
Yay!
Yeah.
How's it going, boys?
It's going.
We in it.
Yeah,
We're
been
here.
a long while.
It has.
Yes.
It really has.
Been a very long while.
Yeah.
Like, for those that are watching this with us, will probably know that, like, this wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for them. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we started this because of being inspired by what you guys were doing with All Around. So
Nice.
it was like, oh, we could do it too. Like, and then we, like, especially loved, like, how inclusive everything was, and like how you guys were also kind of trying to do the same thing we wanted to do, which was give a platform to our friends and local bands and
Right.
anybody really to do something, you know, to show their stuff. So I was like, when I think, what was the first one I went on over there with? I was remembering Ellie, I think.
Yeah.
Was that the first one?
I think that was the first time, and I think I just did a call in on that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
That was when
yeah.
we were starting to
Oh, yeah.
call people in and everything.
Yeah,
remember
and
that.
I think, I don't remember if you guys had like a dropout or something maybe, or you had a guest drop or something.
I don't know.
might
Back
have been.
then, I don't even know if we really had guests. Like,
Yeah.
Well, because you had, I think part of it was because you had already had King's Gambit on at that point, like
Did
the
we?
first time.
okay.
And I had just left them right before, like right around the time that they came on with
Oh,
you guys.
okay.
Okay.
So I had known about it through them, and I think that was kind of how we got connected originally, was because of that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking that, like, when you asked me to be on that episode, it was like
I can't
you
remember.
had somebody else that was supposed to be on or something,
I
and
think maybe, and
they dropped.
that
I
happened
know,
a lot.
I know then,
Then-
when we were starting, we didn't have a lot of guests, so sometimes we would just talk to whoever
Because it
around.
was me and
We didn't do it live, though, then, did we?
No.
No.
I'm pretty sure that one was
I think it
recorded.
was live. I think my episode was live. That might have been like right when you just started doing them live.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm almost positive.
Maybe
remember
that's what it
being
was.
live.
Maybe I think you were on the Twitch chat.
I was gonna say,
Was
did
that
you
the
do like
time
a
you were on
Skype? Was it a Skype
It
call?
was a Skype call,
But I think, were you in the
but
Twitch
I didn't
chat
have
talking
a
to us?
video set up. It was like
Oh,
was just
okay.
the audio only at the time.
Yeah.
Like, you guys just had like my picture up there, and then like I
Yeah.
was talking.
Okay, yeah.
Like, if you go back and dig through their archives, like
I
on their
don't,
YouTube
don't
page,
do that.
you can probably find it. But it was me and the dude from what was it? Summit City.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Darren.
Yeah, that had to have been
Yeah.
when we were doing the Twitch thing then.
Yeah.
Because
Or it might have been, well,
they would have come. They'd come in the chat and talk to us, and that's when
Yeah.
we would get into these 5-hour-long phone conversations with people. Because I remember we called Darren from Summit City, talked to him on the phone for like 3 hours,
yeah.
I think he had been on maybe once before.
maybe. I
the
can't remember
episode
how
that
it
I was
all.
on.
I don't remember.
I
the
remember we were
timeline,
like,
but-
we started doing it to where we were streaming to multiple platforms. And I
Yeah.
think Twitch was one of them, and I think that's how
Twitch was the one, I think.
we found Darren, or how
Yeah.
Darren found us.
Yeah,
And then we talked to him, and
I haven't heard from him in a while.
But basically, it was because of what you guys were doing and what Darren was doing with Summit City
Mhm.
that inspired this.
yeah.
Like, because it was like we wanted to take kind of both ideas and put them together.
Have you seen? Is he still doing it? Do you know?
He hasn't done anything in a while. He hasn't posted anything in
Yeah, I
a while.
haven't seen anything.
I haven't heard from him in quite a while.
He's still like his Twitch channel, like he'll still like, you know, share other people's streams and stuff through that. But I haven't seen him do an actual stream in a while. But
I wonder if he still because he worked at that place that he was doing it.
yeah,
at.
I think
Yeah.
as far
He
as
had
I
a whole
know, he
stage
was
and
still
everything.
doing that kind of work. But I don't know if he's still working with the same company or whatever.
Right.
And we had talked about the possibility of going up there and doing a performance at one point. And but just never got around to it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it was a bit of a drive to go all the way up there.
I remember when he was doing that, he kept asking us to come up and, like, check it out, and, like, he wanted us to
I
kind
know, I never
of
did
help
make it up
out
there.
one time and maybe be a part of it. But I was like, man, that's
It's a
that's
heck
a
of a
long
drive.
for
Yeah.
us. And he's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you can stay with me. And I was like, yeah, that's cool, but that's a long drive.
Well, we didn't know each other that well, so I was
Right.
like, eh.
Well, and the thing is like, but because of that, that was kind of what gave us the inspiration to do this.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing on a much smaller scale. I mean, he had a fucking warehouse.
Well, that was a commercial.
Yeah,
like
I mean, he had that whole warehouse and like actual like professional grade cameras.
And so, is that the guy from up in Fort Wayne?
Yeah,
Yeah, he worked for the stage company or something, wasn't it?
Yeah,
And they had a stage in there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the name of the company.
I don't think he ever told me the name of the company.
I think I might know which company it was, but I mean, I'm not gonna.
He might have told me. He came down here one time. I had lunch with him. He was down working in the area, and
Yeah, he's working at the Long Center.
yeah,
wasn't
he was doing the
the days when there was live music.
Yeah, he was working on.
Dude, I miss it so much.
Yeah, you're telling me, dude. That was like my life, and it just like went to nothing, and it sucked horribly.
You're like, I want to play a show, and I can't.
Yeah, or to like go to a show. Like
Yeah.
half my friends are in bands, so like the only time I get to see them is shows. So like when I can't go to shows, I can't see my friends, and then I'm like, what is there to do in life?
And then you're like, I'm sad.
Yeah, and then you get sad boy status, and you just don't want to do nothing.
But that's some of the fun though about having this place is that it's allowed us to kind of skirt the line of COVID and social distancing a little
Yeah,
bit.
fuck COVID.
Because we can do it here in our own private space.
Yeah, and as long
Yeah.
as you keep
And-
6 feet and
You know.
Yeah.
But that's why, I mean, I don't know if you noticed, that's why we had...
before we got here.
I was gonna say that's why I'm sure you noticed the armed guards we had out front and the sanitation
Oh,
you
yeah.
had to go through and all that.
Right.
They were in
Yeah.
hazmat suits. It was
Yeah.
nuts.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
And the
I mean,
masks,
I know that the anal cavity search is a little overkill, but you know,
you can never
It looked like
be
a
too
couch
it.
I've lived on at one point in my life
you
somewhere.
can never be too cautious, you know. COVID may spread through the
Yeah.
ass. You never know. It's an ass virus.
That's
didn't-
that's it. That's
They
the
didn't
Well,
tell
That's,
you
that's
that.
the only place they're not checking.
and I mean, let's be
Dude.
honest. When we're all together, there's going to be a lot of ass play. I mean, it's just,
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's just natural, you
I
know.
don't see the problem, but
I don't see the problem.
oh god. But like, it's been forever though. Like we were saying, like since we've had a chance to even like
Yeah.
get together and do anything. I mean, there for a while. I mean, I was coming over and helping out
Yeah, I
as
remember
often as
because
I could. Like,
Grant was out of town for an episode, and we had
Yeah,
rookie of the year booked,
yeah.
and it went horrible because we kept having technical
Oh,
issues.
I remember.
The internet kept going in and out, and yeah, but
Yeah, I remember re-editing
chugged
that
through
one a couple of times because we also we fucking had his
Yeah.
number. We had his phone number in
Yeah, and then his phone number was up there. And I'm like, why didn't I just label it?
He just like
Rookie of
started
the Year?
getting like phone calls
Yeah,
from like,
he said he got like 8 or 9 of them.
no
and we were just
shit.
like, what the, oh shit,
Yeah,
oops,
and then
we didn't even notice that.
then the guy from the record label was like, "Hey, I need you to take that down immediately. His phone number's in there." And I'm like, what? Where? And then I watched the video. I'm like, oh man,
I know, I didn't see
it's
it
like
either.
right there at the top.
Yeah, well, and it was because we were doing it through Skype. It was like anytime you would move the mouse,
Yeah, anytime.
it would pop up, but
Skype's
it was
like,
up,
"Check
up
it
at the
out."
top where we, when we're in the middle of the interview and talking and stuff, we're engrossed in the conversation,
Yeah.
not paying attention
Yeah.
to that. So neither of us caught it the whole time
Yeah,
until later. And then I remember having to painstakingly go through and edit
blur it out.
each time that it popped up. I had to go in and blur out. The
Yeah, I was trying to do it. And I'm like, video editing is awful. I don't know how you guys do it, or have the patience to do it.
Pain in
I
the
know,
ass.
I know it's a lot like
Yeah.
audio, but
Yeah,
you
I mean,
have to
for
do-
me, I guess it's like,
It's nice if you have the right equipment, like
Yeah.
a good computer that can handle it.
well, and that was the thing, like when I first started, I mean, because you remember, like initially when I started getting stuff together, which eventually kind of was the beginnings of this studio and everything, was when we were kind of in talks about like me starting up like a more like entertainment, like film oriented podcast that was kind of be a companion to what you guys were doing. And I had gotten the computer for it. I had gotten like a decent, actual like gaming PC with a nice graphics card and things that could handle doing video editing and stuff, because I found trying to do it with my old ass laptop was just not handling like it was not. I mean, it did well considering its age, but for what I really wanted to do with it, it was just
Yeah.
not gonna. And any kind of editing, just forget it. But in fact, I think there might still be a pilot version of like the first episode of that somewhere floating around on YouTube.
Oh, really?
of that podcast that never happened.
Yeah.
like
Well,
because there was like a pilot episode that I did to kind of test it out and test the format and see how it went. But then I very quickly realized like I don't have time for this shit.
It's just so
Like,
much work.
I don't have time. Like as much as I love talking about movies and television and shit, as well as music, obviously.
Yeah.
Like I don't have time to go see all these movies and like
Right.
talk
Oh,
about
yeah,
it. Like I
for
don't
sure.
have time. I just don't have time to do it. I'm like I'm being completely unrealistic. Like there's no way I'm ever gonna do this. Like
I don't know how people
Check out
do
this
that.
podcast, by the way.
I never
This
saw
deal.
that.
I will
episode.
sometimes maybe get a chance to go see a movie and talk about
It's
it.
about movies, but
It's mostly movies
see
that
that I've
happened
seen
20 years
15
ago. Yep.
yeah.
Today, Godzilla 1985.
But now look at it, you can't even go to a fucking movie theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, now. Yeah, now they're moving everything to like VOD and shit. Like, okay,
just-
I know this is gonna be off topic a little bit, but this is how it is with us. What do you guys think about like what Disney's doing with Disney Plus and Mulan?
What
Like,
are they doing? I don't really know.
They're
for sure
instead of putting it in theaters, they pulled it and they're gonna be doing it. They're gonna be releasing it on their Disney Plus, but
You have to pay to watch
you gotta
it.
pay.
you have to pay it, and it's like $30 or some shit.
It wasn't like
What?
$27.50 or something.
Yeah.
That's more than buying the fucking DVD.
Yeah, that's
Like,
fucked.
yeah.
You get like all
That's more than
access?
Disney Plus costs.
It is.
Is it like all inclusive though? Like, can you like?
I
watch
have
it
to
as many
look at
times
it
as you
more, but
fucking
I don't
want?
know. I think that it's really like only like a one-time use thing too.
What
the
I don't think
fuck?
it's a.
What?
Dude, that's,
I don't think it's like, oh, you've unlocked it and you can watch it as many times as you want. I think
That's-
it's like
that's
I think it's like you
inflation,
unlock
bro.
it and it's like you have access to it for like
So like an Amazon
for like
rental.
day or
48
a
hours
week
or
or
something
something
like
like
that.
Also,
That's
I mean,
stupid.
While we're on the topic of dumb shit, how about the fact that like, okay, prior to COVID, you could buy face masks at Walmart for like $2.99 for like a pack of 25.
I know where
of
you're
them.
going with this.
Okay, but now you go to Walmart to buy face masks, and they're like $16.99 for 10, and you're like, what the fuck? Like this is shit that we're like being mandatory having to wear,
that's
and you're like,
exactly why.
like you're raising the prices because it's a mandatory thing now, and you're just like raking in the dough because you
Of
know that
course.
shit don't make shit to fucking. It don't cost anything to make.
Hey, that's a good deal. I saw 3 of them for $16.99 the other day. So
Oh
Jesus
shit!
Yeah.
Christ.
That's like.
I saw that and I was like, I only get 3? I was like, this is some crap.
Well, I mean, I feel like a lot of it too is they're trying to go like that, like wearing, the cotton type masks and shit. 'Cause they're a lot cheaper, but fuck, dude, it's just
Oh, like the
crazy.
ones that Hanes makes now?
Oh yeah,
Why do- okay, that's the other thing is like how many companies have jumped on the bandwagon now for it?
I've had this mask
Like-
in my pocket for like a month. It's probably got the COVID.
they probably got the COVID.
You're like, which side am I supposed to use?
Oops.
It's just the stupid.
Those are ones from work.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like, I'm not opposed to the idea behind it. I get it. And I think the thing that has frustrated me the most with everything that's going on, not to get too political on it, but has been, like, the shock at just how selfish we are as Americans. Like, that surprised me. Because the vast majority of the people that are throwing fits about stuff, their argument is always the same. It's
Yeah.
always about them.
Yeah.
And like what it does like for them, like, oh, it's my body, my choice, I can do what I want with it. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's not just about you. It doesn't just affect you. It affects
Right.
everyone and everyone else around you. Like,
Yeah.
It was all the back and forth in the beginning where they're like, oh, you don't need a mask. Oh, you need a mask. Oh, you don't need a mask. You need a mask. And then it's like,
yeah, well, and I mean, ultimately, I mean, the tests that have been done are showing that it's like, obviously, the mask isn't going to 100% protect
Right.
you.
Right.
That's a given. But it helps. Like,
Yeah.
it's
It
not,
does.
it helps, and it's better than nothing. And
I
I mean,
don't-
yes, we live in an area like where we do this from, and where we live in an area that's not necessarily the most
densely populated.
densely
or-
populated, and
Yeah.
it's not. We're not at, aside from the university, we're not necessarily at a real
Right.
high risk in a high risk community.
Yeah, it's
So,
like when I go in the
like-
gas station, there's nobody else around. Like, do I need to really wear my mask?
Okay, so the other thing, of course, I mean, we're kind of going off on a tangent here, and it's a little bit like going to definitely date this podcast, but like in 5 years when people look back at this and are like, oh, it was during COVID. But like, there's so many people that like literally have those up just for show. like as far as the signs and things about like mandatory mask wearing and shit.
Yeah.
Because it's so not enforced in a lot of places.
Oh yeah, I know.
I mean, I've seen some places I won't specifically name, but there's literally signs, huge signs on their windows that are like, you know, masks required to come into here, you know, no mask, no business, blah, 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 blah. And then you look inside and there's like a dozen people inside with no masks.
And then you're like...
And you're just like, okay.
Then you're like, do I wear the mask? Do I not wear the mask? Are we back to this again where I don't know if I should wear the mask?
I've been working.
You also forget though, man. All you gotta do is just claim that you have asthma, and then.
Oh, dude, I had a dude. Okay, I mean everybody knows that. Like,
I do have asthma.
You know, like I do like ride sharing shit. So like, I had somebody one time the other night that I picked up.
Mm-hmm.
That like the first thing he said when he got into the car is he just was like, "Yeah, man, sorry about not wearing a mask. I got asthma." I was like, "I don't give a shit, like, dude. I don't like. I know you're bullshitting me, like, but I don't really care."
I've got asthma, dude. I have asthma and I wear the mask.
Exactly.
So.
That's same here. I'm just like,
yeah, those arguments
whatever,
are really
like,
stupid that people say, like, "Oh, I can't breathe in the mask." Like, you're still conscious.
I was like, "Thanks, though, dickbag. Now
are
I
you
gotta
still
clean my
awake
car
and conscious?
extra
Then you
well,
can
like,
fucking breathe."
What was that? I saw a guy that like he chain smoked like half a pack of cigarettes, put the mask on, ran a marathon, and like won the marathon.
Jesus.
While wearing the mask after chain smoking half a pack of cigarettes, just to prove that like the mask doesn't make any difference.
What's that have to do with the mask?
Like, it's just like he's trying to impair himself as much as possible to show that by wearing the mask,
smoking
it's
the
not gonna
cigarettes
make
would
any...
be the problem.
I think the best analogy I've seen is someone was like, "We wear the mask to catch that as you're breathing that out."
Yeah.
And one of them was like, "Would you want someone to stand next to you naked and fart?" And I was like, "You're right."
Then I heard an argument that someone said, "I can still smell my farts through my pants, so the mask must not work."
That was pretty good.
Oh, Jesus. Well, so, I mean, get back on topic a little bit. Like, what all have you boys been up to? I know you guys took like a year off, like from doing the podcast, and then just came back recently, and I saw some pretty big guests you guys managed to land this year.
Yeah.
Like,
It's doing, we took a year off because Grant and his wife, well, now wife.
Yeah, we got married and
they got married and
bought a house and
yeah,
became an adult. And...
It fucking sucks. I just want to go back to doing hood rat shit. She don't let me.
Just keeps you in line. Yeah, so they got married, bought a house, and moved, and then my fiance and I got engaged, and we bought a house and
moved,
and it, buying a house is definitely a process. It's the most stressful thing you'll ever go through, but it's, in the end, it's always worth it.
Fuck, man, I'm never gonna buy another house.
So, it was just a lot.
You guys are lucky you even got houses. Like, my woman and I, like, we literally were looking for like 2 years.
It was not fun.
It's just, and it was like the market was just awful.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people around here.
Because they were selling so fast on you, or because
they were either selling super fast or they were asking just stupid high prices for stuff that ain't fucking worth that.
Well, ours like she had a house, and then we sold that to buy a house together. And the neighborhood she lived in, the houses were selling for over asking price, like in one day.
Yeah.
So we thought, cool. We'll list this thing, and it'll be boom. We'll have this thing sold. We'll have some extra money. Great. No, not our house. It sold under asking price, and it took like a month or longer to sell the stupid thing. So the house that we were gonna buy fell through because we couldn't get our house sold, and then just jumping through stupid bull crap to buy the house we're in now. Just
welcome to another episode of Being in Your 30s.
Fucking mortgage companies, man.
No, dude, I feel you though. Like, with us, we eventually just kind of gave up on the whole market for a while because it was just like, this is stupid. We put some offers in. It just immediately we were outbid. I mean,
Yeah.
just
Wow.
immediately. And it was just like, what the fuck, man? Like, and really, I mean, for the area that we live in, when you're looking at like what people, they're either people are asking what it's worth and it's being gone immediately, like you said, or they're asking way above value.
We paid. I think we gave 3 or 5,000 over the asking price right off the bat. She denied it because we had the contingency of our house selling, and then she asked us to write a letter why we wanted to buy the house.
What?
Yes, the lady asked why we wanted. The realtor said that she wants us to write a letter on why we're buying the house. Why
You
we
should
want
be
to buy
like,
the house.
well, I want you to write me a letter on why you're selling the house.
I mean, I kind of get it. That stuff's happened before.
She was a sweet old lady. She was
That's
moving. She kind of had to move out of the house and move into a little apartment.
She just
'cause
wanted to
she
make sure
couldn't-
it was going to somebody who wasn't going to trash it.
And then she wrote a letter, and she had met us because when we actually went to look at the house, she had nowhere to go, so she was there. Normally, when you go walk through a house that you want to buy, they're not there. Well, she was there, so we talked to her when we were there and stuff. And so I don't know, it was just weird. It's just the whole thing was stupid.
Yeah, I mean, you guys had, a lot of things go on with that to just get into the house and then, to finalize everything. And then, my fiance and I, the house we were in, they sold it within like a week or something like that. And we're like, cool. Still haven't gotten ours going yet.
Oh no!
So we had to go stay with her brother, which he lives in Lebanon, him and his wife. So we stayed with them for a few weeks. All of our stuff is at her grandparents' house. And so we're driving back and forth from Lebanon to Lafayette every day. So we did that
For those
for
that aren't
like,
from the area, that's like a good half hour at least.
yeah.
One
And
way.
then we
Yeah.
put an offer on the house. It got accepted. Then the appraisal, it came back for less than what the guy wanted. And then the deal fell apart.
Oh no!
So, and then we were looking at a house in Rushville, and we looked at that and loved it. And then the inspection came back terrible. There was mold everywhere. Electrical outlets weren't grounded, which we were talking about. That
yeah,
before
we were
all
talking a
this.
little behind the scenes when before we
And
started. We
so
were talking about what we were doing.
That
dealing
fell
with here.
apart.
Yeah,
And then we're like, cool, we're pretty much homeless right now. And
yeah.
then-
I was a witness to some of this stuff on social media when you guys were talking about it. And
yeah.
everything. I was like, oh my god, what
And
a
then
nightmare.
it worked out because we literally was like, no, we're not getting that house. And, we're just sitting in the car, like, freaking out, like, we're homeless. What are we going to do?
We had
And-
one of those.
and
me
then,
Allison
yeah.
had one of those
Yeah,
days.
it's a
We
great
sat
moment.
in the car
right?
and was like, "What the fuck are we gonna do?"
And
Shit. I've been
he ended
there.
up, the original guy ended up calling us, and he was like, hey, I'll take the offer. So it worked out. But we moved into the house on December 23rd, 2 days
man.
before Christmas. So
That's like the
You
worst
lived in
time
your
to
house
move,
before
too.
we ever closed on our house, and we started buying our house before you did, didn't we?
yeah. See how crazy it is?
Oh Jesus!
The house we
30s.
bought, we didn't close till after the first of the year. We had to rent the house basically from the lady because the mortgage company, our first mortgage company, fell through, so we had to redo everything with a new mortgage company. So our well and our septic are too close for an FHA loan,
Yeah.
but it meets the county guidelines.
Yeah.
So we had to get a waiver done. Well, people have to come out and inspect everything and do all this crap. That nobody could do it right. They did it
Ever.
like 3
I was gonna
times.
say, go figure. In this area, like
Yeah. So during that time, we got behind on some bills, and that dinged our credit a little bit because we're so caught up in this house that our car payment was late. So then you get dinged for having a late car payment, and then we didn't have great credit starting out with. So it went just below the threshold.
oh no,
That she goes, well, the whatever with the mortgage lady, she goes, well, it expired now because it's been too long since we started the mortgage stuff. We have to reapply. She goes to do that and says, well, now your credit doesn't meet
Yeah,
the
which
threshold
dings your credit too.
for our company, so we can't help you anymore. I'm like, so you're telling me you guys drug your feet so long that you couldn't get this mortgage done? Our credit went to shit because of you guys. Somewhat. Some of it was our fault, some of it was them because they dinged our credit like 5 freaking times, and then they're just gonna drop us and tell us good luck, fuck off. So we had to go to this other company, and this guy had to do a bunch of shit to get it to work, and then their underwriters drug their feet forever trying to get everything approved, and I'm like, you should see some of these emails that I typed up, dude. I lost my shit.
Dude, I'll tell you what.
So mad, just headbanging the space bar.
Fucking banks, lenders, mortgage companies, they're all like just a nightmare to work with.
They kept asking for another thing. Like, I need this tax form, I need this and that. And I said, we need to get this done. Send me a list of everything that you're gonna need. A list of it, and so I can just put it all together and give it to you. And they go, well, that's not how it works. We don't know what we need until they come back with the next thing. And I go, just tell me what you could fucking possibly need. I'll have it together and ready. Like, how hard is
You're like,
that?
I'm trying to help you help me.
It's people just incompetent people.
It's a good thing we all have cell phones now and don't have those like corded phones anymore, because I could just see you like.
Oh.
Dude, during that process, I was at the bank probably 4 times a week.
Oh man, fuck that.
They were like, back again? I'm like, yeah. Can you notarize
and
this?
you wonder why people go crazy and shoot up banks and shit.
I mean, luckily they were all like super cool and everything, but just like, yeah, can you notarize this again? They're like, yeah, no problem.
Oh god.
Yeah, my wife had to smooth things over with some of the people because
You just left a path of destruction.
Matt knows. Sometimes I just
It's just like,
flip a switch and piss me off.
I can't take it anymore.
I've seen you a little edgy before. I could imagine. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in the path of that.
Yeah, just when it happens, just let him do it. Get it out of his system.
Tends to be the best way to do things. To be honest.
Yeah.
So when did you guys officially start back up with like? Well, actually, let me know a little bit as far as like what the process was and like because you guys decided to kind of change the format a little bit, kind of scaled.
Oh, we're
back
gonna go back to talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because you kind of scaled back.
Yeah.
You know, the production a little
Yeah.
bit, kind of refocused things. You know, which I actually having listened to the newer episodes, I kind of like.
It's cleaner.
Yeah, and it's more concise. It's more
Yeah.
like to the point.
Well,
like
Yeah.
as much as I loved like the kind of little almost like weekend update style you had with like the news stuff and everything, which is it's kind of cool to do, and I think it still has its place.
it didn't. That was something, and I think we talked about it.
Yeah.
Like when you do that kind of thing, you have to really put a lot of work into like
Yes.
making that like interesting, because if you don't, you're just reading headlines and that's about it.
Well, and really, I
And
mean, I
that's-
think you guys, the times that I found that was the most interesting on your show was like when you had another guest there,
Yeah.
and then you would read a headline, and then you'd all banter about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when it
10
worked.
or 15 minutes.
But
Like,
we
you
didn't
know.
do that every time. And I told him, I go, I like that. I think it's like, it's cool that we want to do this other stuff, but it's not working. It's kind of, it was boring, and it was,
Yeah. Became mundane and
yeah. And it was like, anybody can read a headline, and like, they don't need to,
Yeah.
they're not going to come to the podcast for us to read a headline, you know? So, but we never really came up with an idea. Like, we never really came up with anything that was like, well, let's do this instead, or blah, blah, blah. And then we took our break, and we were going to come back, and we're like, let's just tone it down. Let's
Yeah.
just do the interviews, because that's what it's all about, or the interviews
yeah,
anyway.
focus on the interviews. 'cause-
Oh yeah.
And we cut the video out, we cut the live crap out, because that was, I think, to me, that was putting a toll on it.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
I could tell you from the moment we started doing this, pretty much right off the bat, we're like, we are not doing this live.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
it's
We're not,
awful.
and
It's not
and it's
fun.
not because doing it live isn't fun, because it can be fun and it can be
Yeah.
spontaneous, and you can have some really fun moments that happen because you're
Right.
doing it live.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of extra added stress.
Yeah.
Because if shit starts going wrong while you're in the middle of the broadcast, you got to be on top of it as quick as you
Or
can.
right before when you're supposed to go live, which
Oh,
it always
fuck.
does.
Yeah, I mean, I
And
think
when you have
I think I probably helped you guys out with at least 5 5 or 6 podcasts, even like just behind the scenes. You know, I came in and helped kind of help try to steer the ship a little bit when things were going crazy, because you guys needed like, you know, another person to be there to help catch shit when things started going wrong, because it inevitably always went wrong. There was something that always went wrong.
That always made it hard, like, to focus on the actual interviews.
It was hard to talk to somebody when you're trying to check everything.
Yeah.
And make sure it's
and
all
you could
working.
see it too, like, I mean, not that I'm telling people to go watch the old videos, but like you could even see the moments where like you're talking to somebody, and Grant was always the worst about it. I could always see it with you, because you would be like, you'd be talking, and then all of a sudden I'd see you kind of like look over at the screen or whatever, and then like you would not so inconspicuously nudge Matt about like a camera being frozen or like something like.
He'd just be like.
Yeah, and you could and then it got to the point where you like didn't even really care anymore. You're just
you're like, the camera's not
shit's
working.
broken again.
Yeah, that was always stressful, because it was always a camera, always.
Yeah.
And the thing is, this is why I got to give you guys so much credit for what we're doing here, because like even when we first started putting things together, like I called you at one point and was like, Matt, give me a list of all the bullshit things that go wrong that you like have to deal with, like, so that and kind of what you figured out as troubleshooting ways to get around it. And like, and there were some camera issues that you guys were plagued with. How do you get two of the same
webcams to work at the same time? I don't know, man. Fucking magic.
Yeah, that was the thing, because we were looking at like getting multiples of the same cameras, and like how are we going to get that to work correctly without, because fucking Microsoft and sharing drivers, and
Eventually,
you were just like,
it was like you just had to unplug it, plug it in, unplug it, plug it in, unplug it, plug it in, and then
And
finally it was just like,
yeah. And I found even
hello.
like with our setup, because we use a similar setup to what you guys, you know, used. I mean, we've got, in fact, at least one of the cameras that we have is the same one that one of the ones you guys use, and although we're slowly moving away from using those cameras, but I just remember like calling you up and being like, all right, this is what we're planning on doing. Like, did you ever figure out how to fix this problem? Did you ever like this and this? What program do you think works better, this or this, or like, you know? And there were so many things where you were just like, honestly, man, there were times I don't even know why it worked.
Yeah,
like, it just fucking worked one day, and I never had to do anything about it again. And it was like,
there was times that I was like, I literally just tried that yesterday when I was testing this out, and it didn't work. Now, why is it working? And then like you could never figure it out. And then it would just stay working, and then one day it's just like, nah.
Well, and then, of course, with what we're doing here, we added in the whole bonus nightmare of all this bullshit. Like, the lights and having a band actually come in and, like, literally miking off all the instruments and everything, and having to get a board that could handle, you know, doing 16+ channels at one time, which then we had to have a computer that could handle all that, as well as the video, and, like... It's a nightmare, which is why like we were from the beginning like we're not doing live episodes. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
Like we'll upon occasion we might do like a live stream of a band we've talked about. We still haven't done it yet, but there is plans in the future to do like online special events where we'll have a band come in and have them do a live stream from here.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
But it's
especially
the other thing,
right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, the other thing I've picked up from you guys was just like, although we didn't take it to as much a heart as we should have in our first season, and then it kind of bit us in the ass. Was like, be careful not to bite off more than you can chew, because we were very ambitious with what we wanted to do with this. I mean, obviously, and for just 2 people. Like, we basically lost our lives to this for a while. Like,
yeah.
I mean, and it was taking its toll on our relationships, on our jobs.
Yeah.
Because we were just, like, myself particularly, I was always here. I was always filming something or editing something or fixing something, like, constantly. And so, like, when we had a chance to take this break and kind of remodel and kind of restructure and going into this season, it was like, we're not doing it. Like, I'm putting limits, and we're getting help. Like, we're getting other people who've said they want to be a part of it and help. We're bringing them in. Like, because I'm not going to do it all by myself. You're not going to do it all by yourself, you know.
Right.
Which is why it's been nice having
I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. It's been nice having Benny come in more full time because, we always know we at least have him to fall back on too with stuff.
Well, yeah, and like from the beginning, for me, like I didn't have the money to put in, so like at the beginning, I was just more of like a background person from the beginning, and then the more I put time, my own time, which is valuable, into cleaning the space and moving stuff around and helping set shit up and helping run stuff from behind the scenes, and I was just like, yo, hey, like, I'm here. Like, I want to be more a part of it. That's why I put my time into it, but I just had to put more time into it to be able to justify being like, hey, I'm going to be a part of this. You know what I mean? But it definitely, it's even hard with 3 people to get things done.
Well,
you'll have your transitions between things, and you got to move stuff around, and it's just like, it's a whole thing that people they don't see or really think about. So it's just like, oh, this is flawless, and it's like, well, if only you knew all the bullshit that we had to go through.
Dude, it's like when we schedule having bands come in, and I tell them that, okay, just plan for it being about at least a 6-hour process.
Oh yeah,
they're like 6 hours,
if not 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Depending on how talkative people are.
We have all of the setup times. You got to bring all your gear in here. You got to set all your shit up. Then we got to mic everything, plug everything in. We got to do sound checks to make sure everything's working properly. We got to test our system.
Always sound check.
Yeah, always. We got to make sure our system's working correctly.
Yeah.
Nothing's going wrong. Everything's working all right there. When we do bands in here, we have, like, right now we're running with just 2 cameras doing the podcast. But when we have bands in here, we've got like 3-4 cameras running simultaneously. Yeah. We got handheld cams. We've got, like, all of that. And then it's like, when that's done, you got to tear everything down. But you're still not done yet. You tear everything down, and then you got to set all this shit up.
Yeah.
To actually sit down and do the interview. And it's like, it's a long process. And then, of course, as you know, you could sit and start talking with somebody, and 3 hours goes by and you don't even realize it.
You're like, oh yeah, we haven't even started yet.
Yeah, and you're just like, oh God, like,
You're like, I wasted so much time.
Which is, yet again, why it's like, this time around, we're trying to keep things a little more structured and trying to get more people involved to help, because we bit off way more than we could chew last season. Way more. And,
yeah, it happens.
And damn near ruined a lot of stuff in our lives because of it. But like, yeah, I mean, like, having Benny on now more full time, and like this season even too, like, as you can see now, it's like, Tyler's not here, but like we also have like other guest hosts. We have other people we know we can call, like, if we know ahead of time that, like, I'm not going to be here, or Tyler's not going to be here, or even Benny's not going to be here, or whatever. Mm-hmm. We've got other people that we can be like, hey, one of the other guys is going to be here. You want to come in and help out today, or whatever. So it's also not necessarily as strict as far as at least the cast goes. Yeah. As far as who's on here, running it. I mean, because to us, it's more about what we're trying to do than necessarily the personalities behind it. Yeah. Like, it's not about my ego or Tyler's ego or Benny's, although I don't know, Benny's kind of got a big ego, so.
I mean, I got a huge ego.
It's the only thing that's huge.
He's got a raging ego.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a raging hard ego.
Wow.
Huge.
I've got a raging clue right now.
Fuck.
Clue. But anyway, so it's like, that's kind of nice too, because there isn't this like competition of like, oh, I gotta be on camera. Right. I gotta be the one being the host or whatever. It's like, no, this is just about getting the bands in, getting the episodes made, getting them out. Whoever's here is here.
Well,
right.
That's kind of like with our change. I used to do a lot of the tech stuff, like all the recordings and stuff like that, and take care of that. Well, now I don't have so much time to do it, and so now Matt's doing all that stuff from his house, and he's doing most of the interviews because I don't really have a setup to do it at my house. Mm-hmm. So, it's the same kind of thing. Like, I don't care that he's doing it without me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just glad that he's doing it, and when I can, I come in and do it with him now. Yeah. So I'm kind of part-time on it at this point, and he's taking care of everything, keeping it going, and hopefully I can get a space worked out of my house.
Yeah.
So that's
it works. I don't expect you to be like, hey, I've booked like 3 interviews this week. What are you doing?
it's not even that even.
Because I know you're busy and
even nights
we're all busy.
even when I'm home, when the kids are there and stuff, I don't have a space to do it.
Right.
So like if it's not 90 degrees outside, I can do it in the garage. But it's been 100 degrees and I can't really sit in the garage and sweat my face off.
God, I mean, even in here, dude. I mean, as I'm sure you could probably even hear on the microphone, they got that air conditioner pumping in here.
Yeah, you got it though. I mean, you got a lot
I'll
of
tell you
equipment
what,
and everything.
even if we have that thing cranked for a week before we have a band in here, within 25 minutes of a band performing in here,
oh yeah, it's hot.
it's a sauna,
I'm sure.
and it doesn't matter what you do, and it gets nasty. And then when it's all said and done, we got to open up all the doors and windows and just air the whole thing out.
Let the stank out.
Let all the fog get out and not just the stuff that's coming out of the fogger.
Yeah, and you walk out and you're like, oh, it's still daylight?
But yeah, getting back to like, I saw you guys had some decent guests here so far. Like a couple of them that I was like, oh yeah, oh really?
Yeah.
How'd you manage that one?
That's all Matt, man. It's all
See how
Matt.
we took that year off and kind of took care of some things we had to do adult wise, and then we started talking about it. I was like, I want to get things going again. Originally we thought about just scrapping the whole thing of what we were doing, and we talked about like doing like a story based episodes where we were going to dive into like the full history of music, starting with how music
like,
started.
Not even do interviews anymore, just talk
Dude,
about.
have you listened on this similar thing, but have you listened to No Dogs in Space? Which is, I don't know if you guys know, like Last Podcast on the Left, like that whole network and everything.
Yeah.
Well, Marcus, one of the main 3 guys from that, he and his wife started a music podcast called No Dogs in Space, which is like a music history podcast.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
And they're on a series of punk. Like they're doing like the history of punk music.
Oh, that's cool.
And if I'm telling you, go on
I'll have to check
Spotify
that
and
out.
listen.
Yeah.
It is amazing. It is so good. Like, and even I've been listening to it going like, fuck, I want to do this. Like, this would be so much fun. Like, just, I mean, granted, it's a lot of work. I mean, and they even tell you, like, at the end of the episodes a lot of time, like, how much time they spent researching everything and writing.
That's what we found out immediately.
I started writing the first episode. Like, the first episode, I wanted it to be, like, when was music created kind of thing. Like,
good luck. No, I mean, you weren't ambitious at all on that one.
I mean, not when it was created, but I guess, like,
First, like,
I was like, how did it start? Like, so I looked up, like, what's the earliest recording in history? What's the oldest instrument ever made? And what's, this and that. And it turned into a project.
And how much time had you put into just that? A little bit.
At that point, not a ton, but I didn't have that much information either. Like, if I mean, it could have went pretty far.
I know they were talking about, like, I mean, these guys, I mean, they've been doing it. I mean, Marcus has been doing it for years with Last Podcast as far as, writing episodes and stuff for that. And, I mean, they've said that, like, they did an episode just about Surfing Bird.
Oh, man.
Have you heard the word?
Exactly. But the reason being is because of how it was tied to the punk scene and everything. And really, it got touched on because they were doing an episode about the Cramps. And the Cramps had done a cover. And so there was in that episode, they're like, we're going to go more into the history of Surfing Bird at some point on like a special episode of its own, because it's a crazy story.
Really?
We don't have time to go into right now. So then when they did the episode, and the episode's like 2 hours long or something.
Oh, wow.
And they were like, yeah, we got to start getting into this and realize, like, we spent like the whole week and a half just researching and writing the script just on Surfing Bird.
Really?
Because it just, you once you start digging into it, it's deeper and deeper and deeper and all these different things. And it was a fascinating story. I never even knew about it.
No.
But
I'm definitely going to check that podcast out now.
Dude, it is so
What'd you say it was called?
No Dogs in Space.
No Dogs in Space.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I have a 45-minute drive every day, so
Oh, dude, it's
I've been
so good.
podcasting like crazy.
It's so good. Like, And I had kind of held off on it for a little while because they had made the announcement that they were doing it a while back. They were going to start doing this show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, cool. That sounds like something to be right up my alley. I'll have to check it out at some point. And I just hadn't done it yet and hadn't done it. And then something reminded me of it. And I was like, oh yeah. And then by the time I went to go look, I mean, they had already had, 20 or so episodes. And I was like, oh, and then I was like, when I started looking at like who it was they were covering, I'm going through and it's like, oh, the Cramps, oh, the Misfits, oh, the Stooges, oh, they're like on a whole punk thing, and it's like, okay, I gotta listen to this.
You're like, I love it already. I haven't even listened.
I gotta sit down and listen to this. This is great. Like, and I haven't been disappointed with it at all. It's been great.
So I guess it's kind of good we didn't do that because we probably wouldn't even be able to live up to something like that.
Dude, I think in order to do it, you either, I mean, like,
it's gotta be your job.
I was gonna say, they can get away with it because that is their job.
Right.
Like, I mean, that's what they do for a living is they have a podcast network. I mean,
yeah.
But it took them a long time to build it up to the point where it became their full-time business. I mean, because shit, they've been doing Last Podcast for like over 10 years.
Yeah.
So, like, it's been around for a long time, and it took them a long time to get to the point where it became a business. So, to be able to have the time to dedicate strictly to that, it has to be your business, and you have to be making money off it at some point. Either that, or you just have to have a lot more people involved than just one or two. Like, you have to have other people researching and bringing you information. And then, if you're lucky, you have a friend that's, like, a decent writer.
Right.
And compile all the information together and actually write a script for it, and like, and I say script loosely because obviously you're not following word for word, but it's more like bullet points of things that you got to cover.
Right.
And I mean, I would love to do it, but I just don't have the time.
That was also the other thing that we realized immediately. It was like, one, we already didn't have a lot of time, and then two, that was going to take so much time. And like Ben said earlier, he said, my time is, it's precious.
Yeah.
Not that wasn't word for word, but basically, like he was saying, but everybody's time is important.
Yeah.
Whether it be, you're spending it with your family or, even personal time. So
even masturbating in the bathroom.
Yeah, for sure. That falls under personal.
That's the most important time.
That's very personal. And I think I might have just said too much.
So then we talked about it. And we're like, what if we just made it just the interviews? Because that's really what it should be about. Versus, news headlines and stuff. And like, Grant said, anybody can look that up. Mm-hmm. I will say, since we haven't done that, I haven't been on Alternative Press's website in a long time.
Do you miss it?
No. Because it was a lot of work. I was spending like sometimes 3 days.
It was never
prepping stuff like
very
that.
rarely was it anything interesting.
Yeah.
Like very rarely was anything that interesting because it was every week or whatever that we were doing it. It's like there's nothing new going on.
Yeah.
There's nothing new, and then maybe somebody died. That was it.
So
upon occasion,
back,
you might have some kind of weird, crazy controversy, or
yeah.
Or I mean, a lot of it is boring, typical music business stuff.
Yeah.
That the average listener's not going to give a shit
about.
No,
and
they're trying to find.
If you do give a shit about it,
yeah.
you've already read about
exactly.
it.
Exactly. Yeah. So we, I think taking that year off really helped because it helped us. Obviously, like I said, we were going through some adult stuff we had to take care of, but it helped us realize that it should just be about the interviews.
Yeah.
And plus, we had that affiliation with Twitch, and we could only stream on Twitch, which really limited, viewership, which in turn wasn't right for the artists who were on, as guests, because, that just kind of bottlenecked everything. And before we were doing like YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah.
And then, getting it down to that, which was cool. You could be like, oh, I'm a Twitch affiliate. But then realizing, anybody could be a Twitch affiliate, but then you're just like, you're stuck there.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was one of the things with us when we, truthfully, we learned a lot from watching you guys and seeing what you guys went through and being like, okay, like, we don't want to have to deal with this.
Yeah.
And like, or we'd watch and be like, yeah, we want to do something like that. They hit it right here, And not to, we never wanted to rip you guys off. It was always more of like we wanted to be like a companion to it.
Right.
Which is hence, like, I mean, you and I have been talking about doing a crossover thing since last year.
Yeah.
And, just we weren't ever able to make it work out. Like, I always wanted to get you guys on and, like, pay homage to the fact that, like, this is what started it for us. Like, what you guys were doing was what started it for us. And I still think, like, what you're doing is great, even now with the changes and things. Like,
yeah.
I feel like you're finding more, you're being more yourself. Like,
yeah, it's a lot
you're not
easier.
trying to force it to be something. You're just kind of just being yourself.
Yeah.
And, doing the interviews and stuff.
Yeah, well, we appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
That means a lot. And thank God for Zoom. Because it's way better than Skype.
Yeah.
Sorry, Skype, but fix your crap.
Skype has definitely got a lot of issues.
Yeah, still does.
Yeah.
I used it the other day, and it was like, how was this call? And I was like, still terrible.
Always 1 star.
Always 1 star, so they know that they need to improve.
Dude, I would rather use Facebook Messenger.
Yeah, literally.
And that's saying a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it's it's going well. It's definitely a lot easier, especially being pre-recorded.
Yeah, see, like I said, that was the thing we learned right away.
Yeah.
Was no live.
And Grant wanted to do that for a long time. And I was like, I don't know, we got all the live stuff going on. We've, we bought all these cameras.
Yeah, but see, like, we still, I mean, we have the cameras and stuff, but, like, we just pre-record everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no surprise to anybody who's watching it. Like, we've made that clear from the beginning. Like, this isn't live.
An awkward, a 30-second awkward silence can kill a live stream.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Even 10 seconds.
Yeah.
There's times, like, when we in the pre-recorded stuff, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I can take that out.
Yeah.
Or, like sometimes you cough and you're like, and you just edit
it was
it
like
out.
the last interview we did. I was like, I forgot what I was going to ask him.
Yeah.
I was sitting there, we were talking, and I had a question in my head, and then I just lost it. And I was just sitting there, and I had something. I don't know where it went.
It took you a while to be like,
Don't know what it was.
Yeah. Edit that out.
see, like, that's where, like, we've talked about, like, because we have, like, a Patreon and stuff, too, but we haven't done anything with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because we've still been trying to figure out, with what we do, it's kind of
It's hard to ask.
It's a dicey thing to do because of the fact that we have artists on performing.
We've had that debate.
And so it's like, basically, I mean, what we've talked with the artists about that come on here is, and there are, gotta be careful how to word this, like, and not get myself in legal trouble of any kind. But basically, there are agreements that are made.
Yeah.
As to the conditions of copyright and things when it comes to things. Because a lot of the artists that are coming in there, well, every artist that we have come on the podcast, we do not charge any of the artists for any of that.
Right.
We don't charge them for the recording time of the audio, the mixing and mastering, the editing of the video, the hosting of the audio and the video. Like, we don't charge them anything for that. However, in trade, we basically own the rights to the recordings.
Right.
Because it's like, that's the trade that you're giving. Is like, you're not paying us for it, so you don't technically own the recording. You own the songs, obviously. So there's a certain amount of, ownership that you get.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the actual stuff, we pretty much are like, we own that. And mostly so that it protects us when we go to post things. Because we don't want to be fighting copyright infringement bullshit.
Yeah.
You're
Because
still gonna get it flagged.
we still have had some issues.
Yeah.
I mean, even this season, some of the stuff that we've done already this season has gotten flagged for some stuff. Now, it's nothing that has hurt us, but it is, something where it just makes it to where we can't monetize it.
Yeah.
And it's like, which, we don't really make anything off this shit anyways, as you know how it works. But like, because of that, like, with our Patreon, we've been kind of debating exactly what we're doing with it, because it gets real tricky if you take something like that and you put it behind the paywall.
Yes.
Because now you are charging for something.
We had talked about that.
Yeah.
you don't have full ownership of. You have partial ownership.
Right.
And yes, you can do it, and you can get away with it, and you can. But there's certain legal agreements you have to have because there's certain royalties that still have to be paid for certain things, and blah. Even though they might not own the recordings, they still own the songs. So there's still a publishing side of things, and then it gets into the whole crazy business side.
Mine was more of it. It was a moral thing. Was we're not going to ask people to pay to see an interview and a live performance of a band. We're not going to ask them to pay us to see this band perform if the band's not getting anything.
Mm-hmm.
As a paywall kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I thought it was like I don't think it's worth doing. Now, if you make an agreement with the band that you're going to put it behind a paywall, or you're going to have, you set up some sort of
exactly. Well, and that's
them.
the thing with us is like we pretty much have to communicate with the artists when they get here, and even really before that, like when we're in discussions about like getting them on and everything, like what our agreements are and what the terms of everything is. And the thing is, we primarily work with independent artists anyways, so it's not really that big of a deal usually. And most of the people we've had on here, we're all friends with anyways. So it's like, they know we're not trying to screw them or anything. And like, our whole purpose for this is to help give them a bigger platform, something that they can, they can link to on their socials and things. Be like, hey, go check this out. Like, this is us performing. You can book us to do shows, or you can whatever.
But that's the other thing is they have that, they say this, we went and did this, but then you hit a paywall to go see it.
Yeah, and that's why, like, with us, basically, like, what we've talked about doing, granted, like I said, we haven't done it yet. We have the account, but we have not quite set anything up yet because we've been debating for months on exactly how to go about it. But one of the things we talked about was the idea, and we've even gotten permission from some of the bands who have been on already for some of the previous stuff that was, like, last season and things. Mm-hmm. Since we're doing ours more in like season based. Mm-hmm. But in that, like, having maybe one of the performances, like one of the songs put behind the paywall.
Yeah.
Like,
that makes sense.
Like one song out of the set, like we have a band come in here and they play 5-6 songs. One of those songs we might put behind the paywall. And we've talked about that, and we've gotten agreements from some of the bands specifically for that.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things I think that really fans would want more than just that is like the whole idea of like having a Patreon or being a fan of something and paying for it is like you want to have more like more access to things that you wouldn't get on the show.
Right.
So like behind the scenes things, extended things, and that's where like we've talked about doing more of like this season, when we're bringing artists in, we're trying to do, where before we were doing kind of song by song with an artist. They come in here, they do a song, we stop, we cut, we reset, we go to the next song, action, start, roll camera, next song, whatever. This season, we're trying to gear it more towards actually just having a band come in, play their set like they would in a venue. Play it live, straight through, whole set, and then we break things up later for release as individual tracks and things later, but then putting the full uncut version behind the Patreon.
Do you remember back in high school when you'd buy like the DVDs from bands?
Oh yeah, like
and it would be like studio time.
Yeah,
them in the studios doing stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean the DVD was a paywall.
Yeah,
so
essentially,
it's basically you're putting a same thing. You want to see how they made the music and did all this. Same idea. Well,
and I think that's what we've talked about, the idea of doing some of that, and like maybe doing like, starting things like starting a special like Discord specifically for fans that are Patreon fans, or doing like the Q&A things that are only done for the fans,
Yeah.
And I realized how dangerously close that was to sounding like we were starting an OnlyFans, but
hey,
but
I might.
I ain't no shame in the game.
Check out my OnlyFans. My name's Zach. I'll put my balls on this drum set. Sweaty and not sweaty.
Oh my god.
People might pay. I don't know.
Oh, they probably would. The thing is, I don't want to know who would pay it.
Right.
That's the problem with that shit is you get to see who it is that's doing it.
Oh, can you? I don't know.
I don't want to know.
Oh, you get to see like who's giving you money?
You get to see who subscribes to you.
Oh yeah, dude.
Oh,
You definitely like.
I don't think I'd want to know.
You would see like who's paying for it and shit.
Wow.
Yeah. I kind of just don't want to know.
All right, let's see who I got. Grandma.
Thanks for the money, Grandma.
Oh no. Of course, it's $12.93.
Here's your birthday money.
Balancing that checkbook.
Oh my god, bro.
And you always got that scrolling through, just hoping and hoping you don't see that one crazy uncle.
I knew he was weird.
Oh, that's just nasty.
Yeah, you can't watch that show anymore.
Oh man. So, what have been some of the highlights of so far as guest-wise for this year for you guys?
Some pretty good ones. You know, we came back and we kicked it off with the Wise Man's Fear.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love those boys.
Yeah.
I want to get them in here, like,
Yeah.
so bad. Like, but we might have some more legal entanglements
Yeah.
with that, and especially
Yeah.
now that they're signed, like...
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they just signed. You know, we had booked the interview and then they signed with Sharptone Records, and, you know, they had their single out. And the album wasn't even out yet, so we had them on and
God,
you
I
know,
know, and
talked
that
about
album
the
took
single.
forever for them to get released because
It's
of all that
so
stuff.
good, though.
Oh, I know, it's
so
great.
good. And they're already back in the studio, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, they fucking recorded that one, what, like 2 years ago?
Yeah,
like,
so why not?
Because I remember, like, Joe, like, talking about when they were going into the studio and stuff for that. And that
Yeah.
was, like, 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, we figured that was a good way to, you know, return, you know, with a...
I think they were one of our first interviews, weren't they?
Yeah, one of the first big band interviews, in which we, you know, we reflected on that too, and then, you know, we had some others. We had Austin Tolliver. He's from, you know, the Nashville area. He's doing like country hip hop, which is pretty good. And then, I feel like I'm gonna forget so many.
But my thing is, like, what are the ones that really, like, were so big that just, like that you can't, like...
The first one that stood out, you know, we had Eddie Island on.
Yeah.
He was on American Idol, you know,
Mhm.
top 14 finalist, which, you know, my fiance and I, we watched the newer American Idol with, like, Lionel Richie and,
Yeah.
you know, Luke Bryan and Katy Perry, which we love it because, you know, they're not, like, a-holes. So they're actually, like, very informative and,
Yeah.
you know, encourage them a lot, which is what you need, you know, for
You
developing
don't have
artists.
a Simon character who doesn't have any real purpose except for to be an asshole?
Yeah. You know, have somebody going, that's no for me, dog. So, which, you know, they tell people no, and
Yeah.
but they give constructive criticism on
Which
their
is
way
what
out.
you should do. You should
Yeah.
always do.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, you know, there's always those few that come on, you're like,
well,
yeah.
there are those people that are literally just like spotlight chasers.
Right.
That like they know they're horrible and it's just about trying to get their 15 minutes of fame, and so that's all they
Yeah.
really care about.
Yeah.
Like, and they'll be as horrible as they possibly can be intentionally sometimes just
Yeah.
to be a meme or something, you know?
Which there were. So that was pretty cool because I always liked him, and, you know, I kind of liked how his vibe. He's always like, you know, welcome to the island. My name's Eddie. Super cool dude. You know, and then we had on Ruby Vale. She's had a bunch of her music on like HBO and Showtime and everything. So she's open for like, you know, she played with Gary Clark Jr. and
Oh, nice.
people like that. So, you know, she had a lot going on, and recently, you know, we had on Naughty by Nature,
That was the one I
which, yeah,
was hinting at because I saw that when you made that announcement. I was like, "What? How did you pull that one off, Matt?"
He
Like,
pulled me aside at work one day and he goes, I think we're going to get an interview set up with Naughty by Nature. And I said, like, the actual Naughty by Nature?
the Naughty by Nature.
And he goes, yeah. I go, are you sure? You
sure?
He goes, yeah. I'm like, all right. I didn't believe it until Vinrock came up on the Zoom meeting.
Doubted the whole thing.
All right, it's him.
It's him. But, you know, we've had on a lot of people in between there. We had on Mia Geldum. She's a singer-songwriter. She's originally from Indiana, but, you know, she moved out to California. Now she's in Arkansas, which, you know, she's really good. I mean, everybody we've had on, you know, is phenomenal. I just did an interview last night, So we have more recorded that we haven't released yet, but we have enough recorded to where we can release 2 months.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do with this, because I mean, obviously, as like I said before, it's no surprise that everybody that watches this knows, like everything here is pre-recorded. You know, we try to build up a bit of a buffer even with ours, because if, I mean, you think about it, as you know, with all the video editing and audio editing and everything we have to do for all of it, there's a lot of time that goes into it, and we need to have enough built up so that if there is a snafu of some kind, a scheduling thing where somebody backs out last minute, as you know happens.
Yeah, it does.
Like, we're not completely screwed. Like, we have, you know, a little bit of a buffer in place. Plus, it also gives us a chance to take a break if we need to as well.
Right.
Like, if we feel like we're getting too stressed out about it and getting pushed too hard, like, you know, we could afford to take an extra week off. You know, like, we've got enough saved up.
Yeah.
To do this. But it's also why we decided to kind of do this more like a television series and do it in seasons as well, because we wanted to give ourselves basically permission to, at a certain point, take a break, stop, reset, get away from it for a while, come back. Because it's very easy. The thing that I see the most in, like, podcasters and stuff who've talked about this is, and especially YouTubers, is like, the burnout is real. Like, there comes a point when you've been going and going and going and going and going, and eventually you just burn out.
Yeah.
And it can take a massive toll on your psyche and on your emotions, and you just feel burned out. Like, you have nothing else left to give, because you've just been hauling ass doing this to the point where you just can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And we never wanted to get to a point where we hated doing it. And, you know, I've always said, like, if it gets to a point of where I don't want to do it anymore, I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
Like, but I don't want it to necessarily end, you know. Hopefully it can still carry on in some form, you know. And I think I'll pretty much always be involved with it in some way or shape or form, even if I'm not always here hosting or doing things like that. But I mean, you guys, though, it was so cool when I finally when I realized, yes, you are coming. Like, we're getting you, we actually are able to make this work.
Yeah.
Like, we can get you guys in here now, and like, because it was, you know, I've wanted to get you guys in here. It's just, I mean, because you hadn't even seen the studio yet. You hadn't even been here yet. So it's
just
like
pictures and stuff.
That's so it's like, I wanted to get you guys in here and be like, dude, like, look what you had a hand in. Like, I mean, you doing what you do caused this. Like, you know, it inspired us to do what we do and use our talents and the abilities we've learned, you know, over the years to do something similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, and we wanted to do a crossover with you guys, especially because it's like, we want to work with you. That's the thing. Like, we never want to be competition. It was never about competition, except for just playing around, obviously.
Right.
We, you know, we're friends. Like, we kid each other and play around. It's like us with the guys that do Toon Junkies podcast. It's the same thing. We tease those guys all the time, too. Like, we both, you know, did Fried Fest this year, and we both co-sponsored Fried Fest.
Yeah.
And, like, so we were giving each other shit on social media and stuff just for fun.
Right.
You know, the whole time. But, you know, we have a relationship with them as well. You know, and it's all about bridging everything and trying to create a bigger community where we all help each other out. We all lift everything up. We give, because I feel like if everybody's working together, all it does is benefit everyone.
Right.
You know, like, if I get an artist in here that's great and I'm like, it was a great time, I'll tell them about you guys or about Toon Junkies or whatever. And I might even get a hold of you and be like, dude, I'm sending a guy your way, or you need to check this guy out and try to get him on. Like, we had him in here. They were great. Check them out. Like, it'd be good for you. That kind of thing. And I think because then the artists benefit from all of that too.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, because now they've got multiple platforms, people trying to help promote them and get them out there more.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because you're having on a guest here soon, and then the following week he's
Yep.
going to be on with us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm excited to see that episode. By the way.
Oh, so am I. Yeah, we've got some. We're booked. Like, of course, I mean, with us, our schedule's kind of funky, like how we do ours, because we can't do it necessarily every week. So, because we tend to do alternate weeks on filming and stuff, and then we kind of have an off week where we're not bringing people in and recording.
Yeah.
But we're still working on editing and all that kind of stuff. But because of that, it makes scheduling a little difficult. And then also, but also because of that, though, we are now currently booked all the way into October.
Nice.
Actually, technically, we've even got one now that's going to be sometime in November, December.
Oh wow.
So it's like,
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick.
it's been kind of crazy. Like, we didn't expect for it to take off like it did and generate as much interest as it did, as quickly as it did.
Mhm.
I think it was more of a, we'll just see how it goes.
Right.
Kind of, we'll invite some of our friends, people that we are good friends with, and have them come on first and whatever, and see what happens.
Kind of like a little, like you said, a pilot episode. See how
Yeah,
it goes.
and it was very quickly that, like, it just started spreading, and people, and I think obviously it has to do with the fact that, we have this setup that we do
Yeah.
like music as well as having the interviews. That definitely plays a part in it. But, like, I just was shocked at how quickly, like, they started filling up. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, are we even going to be able to do this? Like, there's too much
Yeah.
here. Like, and I will admit, I mean, we dropped the ball on several things last season. I mean, there's some stuff that will get released as, like, bonus episodes this season that are things that we didn't get finished right or done last season. We had a couple of artists that came in and recorded that were never actually released. Their episodes weren't released. I mean, you know how that goes too.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, there's still
So-
stuff we haven't released from last year.
so it's
that,
like,
you
there's
have to
one
find the
episode in
time.
particular that I gotta get to you.
Yeah.
That I still haven't. I've had it for all this time, and I still haven't fucking gone in and edited it.
There's so much that needs edited out. That's the problem.
And I haven't listened to it in so long either. I need to go through and listen, and I'm gonna start writing timestamps down as far as where I gotta
Yeah, they're going to be a lot.
omit some things.
And then redacted and
And what I need to do is, with the video version of it, I need to actually just get a big censor bar and just
Yeah.
say it's redacted. Just to not even, like, hide the fact that there's shit that's getting cut out.
that'd be pretty funny, honestly. I think that would like give it a whole new spin.
You get to a section where they're talking, and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden it's like,
Yeah.
redacted.
Please stand by. That'd probably be in there a few times.
Oh, I know for a fact of at least 3 occasions.
Because remember, after we're done, they
Yeah.
were like, "Yeah, you guys can't release that episode. We said
Yeah.
some things that if it gets released,
Yeah, well, it was within the day, because I got contacted about it pretty quickly and was like, yeah, probably shouldn't have been that open about some of that stuff.
yeah, especially now.
Oh God, especially right now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't
So-
go over well.
And it's nothing. It has nothing to do with, like, racism or anything like
No,
that.
nothing like
Like,
that.
it's nothing like that.
No,
But oh fuck, yeah. It was a great time though.
yeah,
It was great, and I just, yeah. That is one of those things though that you run into doing live that could definitely be a problem of something that could come back and bite you in the ass.
yep,
Is when people just go completely unfiltered and just start going off on things, and then, like, an hour or so later, or when it's over the next day, and they go back and rewatch it, and they're like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that.
yeah.
Like,
We had to take the OHR episode, Our Hero Returns episode, the throwback to the scene, the one we could never release.
yeah, I hadn't said exactly which one it was, but yes, that's the episode we were talking about, is that there were some things that were said in that episode that have to be redacted due to some of the people that are involved and what they do for a living.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
and-
I remember
yeah,
that. now.
and it was like it wasn't anything bad per
No.
se. It wasn't anything like
No.
that, but it's just like a little too much information was given, and it needs to be redacted because
Yeah.
yeah, given their current field of employment,
Yeah.
it's not very good for them.
I will say, I am gonna, because on top of like how we were talking about the pre-record everything, we got to do editing and everything. On top of that, I'm gonna do a plug here for a podcast that's not released yet. On top of that, I've been editing somebody's podcast,
Oh hell yeah!
and it's all about horror movies, and they
Nice.
review them and they talk about them, and like it's like they do their homework, and it's very well put together. It's gonna be, as far as I know, it's supposed to release this fall.
Hell yeah!
So I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but I'm sure they won't mind because I mean they have social media and everything set up and ready to go. They just haven't released everything yet because they're doing it by season as well. But it's called True Horrors Podcast.
Nice.
So
Oh, I'm definitely gonna check that
Who's
shit
doing
out.
that?
it's one of Brooke's friends,
Oh,
so she works with her. But
nice.
yeah, it's really well put together. So
That's awesome. I'm definitely
Yeah.
gonna check that out because I'm a sucker for that shit too. So.
yeah, I know a lot of people like horror movies, and
Dude,
it's
I've
really
got
good.
like box sets of old cheesy horror movies and shit. Like,
Yeah,
That's one thing my wife doesn't like. Doesn't like those movies. And like in the past 10 years, I've kind of gotten into them. I'm like, come on, they're great.
yeah.
Just gotta
oh,
watch
and the
it.
best is like if you can get your hands on like those collection box sets of like 100 movies. They're like all the fucking horrible slasher shit from like the 70s and 80s that was like B, C, D rated shit. That
Oh,
was,
yeah.
like just awful movies. But they're so much fun to watch because you're just like, this is like, you can do like your own Mystery Science Theater shit with them and stuff. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
and it's like, it's so great. I've got a couple of different box sets like that where they're like compilations of like a bunch of like low budget 70s horror flicks and stuff that are just awful. Just fucking awful. Like,
We do have an interview coming up that we're releasing. It'll be out by the time this airs.
yeah,
probably.
this probably won't be out until next month. Basically, it's from the time we record it, a little behind the scenes for you guys. It's not behind the Patreon wall. From the time that we record the episode, it's usually about a month until the release.
Oh, okay.
So it'll usually comes out about a month.
So yeah, this will be out. His name's PJ Vegas. He's the son of Pat Vegas, who is the legendary singer of Redbone.
Yeah.
So it's his son,
Nice.
and I talked to him. Super cool dude, really chill, and so trying to think of everything that will be out by this time. So we're gonna have Louisiana Lot Lizards are gonna be on.
They're going to be on here too. They're coming back this season as
Yeah.
well. They were on last season, and then they were actually our most successful artist last season as far as views
Dude,
count
they're
and stuff.
solid, man.
And of
Wonder
course,
why.
I mean, and we, Benny and I, like they're fucking family to us. I mean,
Yeah.
we've played shows with them numerous times. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we're good friends with those guys. Like,
Well,
it
they
is.
kind of became like Controvert's like sister band because we started roughly around
Although,
the same time.
to be honest, they're another band that it's thanks to you guys that we got in contact with because of Joey's previous band that he was in when
Oh,
he
yeah.
was on your
You're
guys'
letting the light in.
podcast.
Yep.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
when he was on with you guys, that's how I first became exposed to him. And at some point, because of that, I ended up talking to him. I don't remember if it might have even been because of that episode because I was in the live stream.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was helping out in the
okay.
live stream
Oh,
on
okay.
in the chat section and stuff at the time.
Mhm.
And I think that was where I first started like getting connections with him on it.
Mhm.
And then of course we crossed paths and started playing shows together and stuff because we're all connected to a lot of the same people.
That's
But,
really cool though to hear that.
But dude, that I love those guys so much. Like I really do. Like Joey is the shit. Like some of the best shows we have ever done, like with Eros, and some of the best shows I've done probably in any of the bands that I've ever been in, have been playing shows with those guys. Like it's
Oh, yeah,
always
they're
so
just-
much fun.
They're just,
Like-
like on a whole different level.
Oh,
Like-
dude. And they make you, as a musician, they make you jealous in a good way.
Oh yeah.
Like,
To where you're like,
you're
"That is
just
so
like,
cool."
fuck, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
And it makes you step up your game. Like,
Oh,
I've
yeah.
always said it with us, and I know Benny said it with Controversy even, like, we hate following them
Oh yeah.
because they fucking tear the house down, like,
And
with their
Adam
sets.
has-
Like, they're
Adam
so
has this
good.
fascination with if you're homies with him, he wants to play before you. That way you have to.
Oh yeah,
I'm just like,
because
you're an
it's all
asshole,
about
bro.
like trying to. It's that fun, like, playful, like, we're gonna set the bar so fucking high that
Yeah.
now you've got to really work
Yeah.
to get over that bar. and,
dude, yeah.
and so it's like, fuck, I hate playing after lot lizards.
They're like the James Cameron of bands. They set the bar so high.
Dude, but it works though. Doing that, every set that we've ever done where we've followed them has always been one of the best sets we've done
Yeah.
because of that playful competition and that like
Yeah.
family rivalry kind of thing that we got going with them. Like, I'm so ready to hear, like, you know, they're working on their new album and stuff and everything. I'm so anxious to like hear what it's like when it's done.
Yeah.
Because even just like what little bit I've been exposed to of like the demo versions and things, like the pre-pro stuff, I'm just like, oh my god, it's gonna be so good. Fuck. Like, but then the other side of me is just like, god damn it, and that means like, man, I'm gonna have to work so much harder on our new shit. Like,
Yeah. See,
Gotta
they're
step
still
up.
pushing you in other
oh,
ways.
dude, they definitely are, and
Yeah.
Controver does it to us too.
Yeah.
Although,
You
I
guys
kinda-
inspire each other.
yeah, it's a nice little family, but that's kind of what all of this was about, like wanting to bring you guys on for the same thing. It's like, it's all about this family that like you guys had a big hand in creating, kind of like just starting out and getting us connected, you know. Like, I wouldn't have gotten connected with Joey if it hadn't been for you guys. Like, you know, if it hadn't been for getting on the show with you guys and helping you out and becoming good friends with you guys, like, we wouldn't have been inspired enough to finally take the leap of faith and do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's, you know, it's all in love. Like, we definitely wanted to get you guys on here to be like,
Right.
this, like, go, like, anybody who's like watching us and listening to us and everything, like, this is what started it. Like, that's where it came from. And, you know, as we've talked before, like, we always want to work with you guys on anything. You know, we've talked before about, you know, if you had an artist that, you know, comes into town or whatever, somebody that you're having, obviously you guys don't have the space necessarily to do a live thing or whatever. Like,
Right.
you're always welcome to use our studio setup for anything. Like, if you wanted to send a band over here to do a live session for your show, even, like, we'd do it. Like, we, you know, it's that family thing where it's
Yeah.
like we're all a part of the same family, the same crew. Like, we all want to help each other.
Right.
Right.
That's the goal. Oh man, it has been a day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It has been a day. I'm glad that
It's been a year.
that's not even. That's
Yeah,
not
it's
even.
been-
And some of the craziest part of it's still not yet to happen. Even by the time this airs, it will not have happened yet.
Right.
unfortunately.
So,
But things are starting to lift up. Shows are starting to happen again, and it's
Yeah.
nice. But on that note, I think it's about time we
wrap this shit up a little bit and
Yeah.
get on with our boring
Surprised
lives of
my
being in our
wife isn't
30s.
blowing me up, asking me. She wanted tacos.
yeah, that food thing's important because that's about
Yeah,
what
you
I'm
gotta
gonna
have
do
you gotta
myself.
have tacos.
Oh God.
Or
great.
Happy
Lao
wife, happy
mein,
life.
you know, Chinese food. That's what I want.
I had some Chinese food.
Dude,
the other day.
I was gonna say, we just did that like the other day. Like, Samantha and I hadn't had Chinese in forever because, like, where we moved out of town. We're not like in town anymore. Like, we're on the outskirts of town,
Right.
so it's not as convenient.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
it's like, the other day I was like, "Fuck it, I'm buying Chinese." And she's like, "I'm like, what do you want for Chinese?" She's like, "No, I'll be fine, whatever." I was like, "What you fucking want for Chinese?"
Yeah. You won't.
I'm buying Chinese whether you like it or not.
That's about to be where I am in like the next 5 minutes, hopefully.
Nice. Well, guys, thanks for finally working this out.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
And we're definitely going to be working with you guys more in the future. anytime you need us for anything, we're here.
Awesome.
Cool.
Likewise. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, no
Of
problem.
course, man. And
definitely
you're always
a
welcome to
pleasure.
come back here anytime. You know, I might end up hitting one of you guys up at some point and being like, "You free to? I need a guest.
I need a hand."
because I, you know, Tyler can't be here, Benny can't be here. I need one of you guys' help."
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, guys, let's call it.
All right.
All right.
All right.